guys, it's Sabrina. Today I'm just reading a very quick July wrap-up because I have shit to do. I read 7 books this month, the first of which was Caliban the Witch, Woman, the Body, and Primitive Accumulation by Sylvia Federici. This book is non-fiction. It basically explores the transition from feudalism to capitalism, and then how this impacted the female body, and it ties in the witch hunt as well, and talks about how the witch hunt was used to advance capitalism and how the war on female bodies was used to advance capitalism. This was fucking amazing. It's so hard to describe it succinctly like that because there's so much that goes on in here. They talk about why magic was demonized during the time, and it's because it didn't fit with the needs of capitalism. I sound so dumb right now trying to describe this. Honestly though, if you're interested in capitalism, Marxism, if you're interested in feminism, if you're interested in witchcraft, I would definitely recommend this. I think it's amazing. I think it's so interesting. And I give it 5 stars. This is seriously one of my favorite nonfictions ever, I think, And my pen's falling out of it, which I didn't even notice until now. I'm not done taking notes on it yet. After that, I read The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I stupidly packed this book up. I'm moving soon and I wasn't thinking. Anyway, how to describe this book? My brain's just turning off. This is a high fantasy, just a mammoth of a book. It follows characters in the West and characters in the East. In the East, there are water dragons, and they're kind of revered. In the West, dragons are deemed heretical and they go against their religion. And it follows a cast of characters living in both of these, regions as the fire dragon is coming back, who's the big evil one. That's a terrible description, but I loved this book. I think it was so refreshing to read a huge beefy high fantasy and for it to be female centric. The main characters for the most part are mainly women, and it's just crazy to think about how something so small as a fantasy kingdom being ruled solely by a woman is so different for the genre. It really shouldn't be. There's also a relationship between 2 women in this book, which was also refreshing to read. I really loved this. I really want more books like this. I want the female characters in adult high fantasy to be the powerful, prominent ones, and I don't know why that's such a rare thing. I'm really hoping Samantha Shannon's gonna come up with a sequel for this one, and I give it 5 stars. Then I read Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This is basically just the story of an affair. That's pretty much all it is. Plot-wise, it's a little scarce. Their writing's really nice. I like that the characters are really realistic. They make bad choices. They're non-perfect people. They're realistic portrayals of how humans actually are, which I liked. I read this for another video, which I don't know if that is out or not. It may be, or it may be coming right after this one. I am still interested in reading Normal People because I know that's the super popular one. I don't think this is 100% my taste, but I did still enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. Then I picked up The Idiot by Elif Batuman. This is another one for a video. To put it as succinctly as possible, this is a story about a girl who goes to college and gets a crush on a boy. This book is also about a lot more than that. There's a lot in here about language and communication barriers and how different languages can change communicate. There's so much. I wasn't smart enough to absorb all of it, to be honest. I did really like it though. I thought the writing was just incredible. This author was showing off how good she was at writing. It was also really funny at times. I would be so interested in picking up anything else that this author has written, although I think this is her only novel? I don't know. I gave this 4 stars. Highly recommend. And then the last book I read for that video previously mentioned is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. God, this book is so good. It's a collection of short stories. I would categorize them probably as horror, but there's a lot to do with feminism in there, which is such a stupid little sentence that just came out of my mouth. It's hard to describe a collection of short stories because obviously they're all different. I really loved this. This was one of my favorites of the month. Probably one of my favorites of the year, actually. The writing was so fucking good. This is some of the best writing I've ever read. It draws you in right away, but it's also so interesting to read. I love the way that she formulates sentence, which also sounds dumb, but I think you can get what I mean. This book is just fucking amazing, and I'm really happy I picked it up. I gave it 5 stars. which I feel like was obvious by the way I was talking about it. Then I read Francesca Woodman on Being an Angel. I don't know if this one really counts as read. I do count it as read because I went through the whole thing. This is a photo book. Francesca Woodman is one of my favorite photographers, so most of the pages are just her work. So like technically not too much reading involved, but I did read like all the bulky stuff in the beginning, so I'm counting it as a read book. My boyfriend got this for me for my birthday last year, and like I skimmed through it, but I never sat down and went all the way through it, so I made it like a goal to do that this month. And I really loved it. I love Francesca Woodman. Another 5-star. I guess I've had a really good reading month. I didn't even think about that until right now. And the last book I picked up this month was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. This book is beautiful. Essentially it's a memoir, a biography, whatever you want to call it. This follows her from like her childhood until she's 17, I want to say. I wasn't really sure what to expect out of this one. I remember in elementary school really wanting to read it after I read something about her in like my social science textbook. But this was so interesting. It follows her life growing up in the South during Jim Crow, but then it also follows her to different areas of the country as well during this period. I know towards the end of the novel it's talking about, she's living in San Francisco I think, and talks about like Japanese internment and her experience of San Francisco during that time. She had just such a wild life. In the beginning of this book, like I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. Like I thought it was kind of just gonna be her living in the Jim Crow South, which in itself is definitely worth the read regardless, but oh my god. Just so much crazy shit happened to her. Like there's one part of the book where she like lived in a junkyard for a little bit, which is what? That's crazy. But then there's also like, I don't want to say it's just all crazy because there's also really terrible, sad parts to read. Like for instance, she suffered from sexual abuse when she was a child, so it gets sad too, but overall, this is a really beautiful book, and her writing was also beautiful. I feel like it started off kind of like just plainly, but then every now and then there's a really hard-hitting sentence that reminds you like, oh yeah, this woman's a poet. Like, she knows how to use her words. Overall though, I highly recommend. I also gave this one 5 stars, which is kind of crazy. I had such a good reading month this month. I didn't even realize that until doing this wrap up right now, which is funny. But anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Bye!